You know what they say with when you have something great, it's a responsibility, right? Why did Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala give parents, mom and dad high status? It's because of the responsibilities. The responsibility is great. But when we think about responsibility, normally what comes to a parent's mind? Or what comes to any of our minds? You know, give my child good clothes, give food on the table, make sure he has shelter, make sure his education is good, make sure he wears good, good clothes, etc. and so many things, right? But that is not the priority. If you really think about it, at the end of the day, if you're going to face Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala after you die, then all of that is not priority. It is actually secondary. If you think about it, good clothes, good secular education, what he's going to wear, what he's going to eat. Honestly, if you think about it, it's not primary, it's secondary. Why? Because at the end of the day, Allah's not going to ask you about all of that. Allah's going to ask you about your deed. So, amongst the responsibilities of parents is what is to raise children according to Islam. Because just like how children can be an asset, children can also be a liability. Maybe not in this dunya, but on the hereafter definitely. Nabi alayhi salatu wasalam mentions in some hadith that small girls, they will have the Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, if they were raised properly, Allah will give them the power, the ability to take their father into Jannah. If they're raised properly. Nabi alayhi salatu wasalam mentions, more or less to the effect, that a person, a man, he comes in front of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala on the day of Qiyamah. Allah orders that this person go to Jahannam. Why? Because his mu'amala with Allah was not good. And then when this person is on his way to the hellfire, the daughters come. And the daughter, they intervene and they tell Allah, oh Allah, we know that our father, he deserves whatever his mu'amala was with you, and he deserves to go to the hellfire. But oh Allah, the reason why we are going to Jannah is because how he raised us. His mu'amala with you, that's separate. But how he raised us, because of his concern, because of his thoughtfulness of us, how can we have our Islam in us? Because of his effort, forgive him, oh Allah. And Allah SWT will forgive. This is the hadith of the Prophet. Allah will forgive this person, and Allah SWT will tell the daughters, and take him into Jannah where you wish. Wherever you want, put him into Jannah. Now the question is, how do I get my child or my children on the road of success? The road of success is not easy, my brothers. Especially if you're living in this society, if your son or everyone in your family member has one of these in their hands, you have high-speed internet, right? It's not going to be easy. And I'm not going to tell you to get rid of all of these either. But there are some ways. Number one out of the many steps. Step number one, I'm not going to go through all the steps. As a matter of fact, I'm only going to speak about this one step. There's a saying in English, university starts at the lap of the mother. The first university of a child, it starts on the lap of the mother. Why? Not exactly the lap, but it's the home environment. The home environment is what will make the mizaj, the mentality of that child. Many of us might say, well, my home environment is good, right? Let me explain that to you. There's three types of home environment. Three types of, not outside environment, we're talking about home environment. There's three types. Number one, it's a corrupt type. It's a corrupt home environment, and I'm going to go into detail. Number two, a good environment. Number three, an Islamic environment. Big difference between number two and three. Number one, a corrupt environment is self-explanatory. There's no curfew at home. No one cares about, or the mother just asks once or twice, "Did you do your homework?" The son lies. No one is investigating. Let me check your homework. Nothing like that. Everyone is eating in separate times. No one is praying. Father or mother, you're smoking, coming. By the way, I just want to mention this before I forget. The kid, second grader, comes up to one of the teachers, and he tells the teachers that I can't study at home. Second grader, my dear brother, second grader. Look what's happening in our Muslim family. May Allah forgive us. He says, every weekend, every Friday night, Saturday night, my uncles, my father, my aunts get together and they start listening to songs, right? Muslim boy, second grade. And the teacher asked him, so what do you do? He's like, I go to my mom's room and I put the headphones on, right? I listen to something, whatever. So I heard about this story. I felt really bad. Young kid who actually realizes that this is not good. But yet the parents did not make the environment. I heard this a couple of weeks ago. And then last night, I was driving by and I saw that uncle that this kid was referring to. He was walking home with a case of Corona. Case of Corona. It was in a bag, it was in a plastic bag, but it was very transparent. And I was just, first, you hear something from a kid, okay, maybe it's right, maybe it's wrong, whatever, and then you actually see something like that. It really broke my heart. You put this child, or you're giving this child whatever Islamic education, but then look at this child, what he's observing. My dear brothers, there are students who complain about, teacher, I'm not, I feel real bad today. You ask that kid, there's something that happened at home. These are problems, maybe one of he's gonna mention them. But we're not really setting the examples. We think that, okay, just giving them good education, having enough money, good food, this, that, and that's it. How about us? How about us being a role model for our kids? If the husband and wife, but if the husband and wife, for example, if they're arguing in front of the children, first of all, I'm pretty sure most of us don't even live in 3-4 bedroom apartment where we can argue in one room and our kids won't, they won't hear anything. We live on 1, 2, maximum 3 bedrooms, and arguing normally we don't argue in a low tone. We get loud. You can expect our kids to hear that. One of the reasons why divorce rates are high, especially amongst the young generation, is because the young generation, when they were even younger, they grew up seeing their parents argue. So they grew up thinking maybe that's what life is about. But remember, the younger generation, they're not as tolerant as the older generation. They're not as tolerant. So for them, anything wrong happens, okay, that's it, I'm gonna leave you. For us, for the older generation, no, we know this is something, this is going to be a black mark on me throughout my whole entire life. But the younger generation, they're not as tolerant. So when they see that, okay, mom, dad is arguing is just an example. They're arguing, they have no the children, and definitely there's a lot of, we hear a lot of stories about that as well. They're smoking in front of the kids. There's a brother. He leaves the apartment to smoke. Right. He comes back inside, and you think that his child doesn't know. That brother actually came up to me. He actually came up to me. He's like, brother, I don't know how my son figures it out. What do you mean? What do you mean your son? How does he figure it out? Like, you're smoking. You're coming in with the smell. Maybe he found that pack of cigarettes, somewhere. When I was young, I used to dig through my father's wallet. I used to steal his license. I'm talking about myself. The shiny little eagle, steal it, put it under the bed. Hey, Burhan, where's my license? Did you see it? Oh, no, I didn't see it. It looked expensive, that's why I took it, and I gave it back to him. I mean, come on, your child's not going to know what you're doing? Whatever daddy does, whatever mommy does, that's correct. That's right. And when they grow up, they're going to end up doing the same. So you have environment number 1, which is a very corrupt environment. Number 2, you have a good environment, but not necessarily Islamic. Good environment is what? I would say this is more of a materialistic environment. A good environment, I would say, is more of a materialistic, where you put Islam secondary, or even Islam is completely absent, and you put everything else first. Education, career, education. The child grows up thinking about that. The child grows up thinking only about his career. He's not thinking about his connection with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. He's not thinking about going to the masjid. Why? Because the parents are focusing. They're spending thousands of dollars on private tutor. They're spending thousands of dollars of someone coming to their house and teaching their kids. Thousands of dollars on math and on English, on subjects that your child are eventually going to forget. Thousands of dollars on that. And this sends a signal to that child's mind that, you know what, my career, my education, again, that translates to what? That translates into materialism. Money, a good career, a job that makes me 6K, 6 figures, not 6K, 6 figures, and so on and so forth. So we are building this type of, but again, why is it good environment? Because no, cursing is not allowed. You have to do your education. You have to eat on time. You have to eat together. But again, there's no words of let's play together. There's no words of let's recite Quran. Let's sit together. There's nothing like that. So this is a good environment, but not necessarily an Islamic environment. Number 3, it is an Islamic environment. An Islamic environment, it consists of good and Islamic together. Where the parents, they not only look at the child's secular education, but also keeps in mind that this child also have to have, how can I install the values of Islam in my son and my daughter? And not just, not just leaving it to the maktabs, not just leaving it to the Islamic schools, because again, the first university is the lap of the mother. Whatever you teach your son, the mentality have to be from a very young age. Many times we come across parents, the son is in 9th grade, 10th grade, 11th grade, 1 year left to get the high school degree. Brother, why do you send your son to Islamic school? I can't control him. Or her, right? I can't control them. I see what's happening. I don't want my son. But sometimes we realize this after damage is done. We're not saying the damage is irreparable. No, it can be repaired. It's going to take more time. It's going to take a lot of time. But that is the mentality. When that child from a give this example that there was I believe it's my parents' fault because my parents, they limited my Islam only on Saturdays and Sundays. I only saw Islam only on Saturday. One teacher would come to my house for an hour, didn't understand, and would teach me alif bata, and that's it. And after that, she told me, after that my parents were just pushing for my education, my medical degree. To be more specific, medical degree. She blamed her parents. And now that same person, because of, situation, she's pregnant and she's not even married and Muslim. This is happening. The reason, now, many times these type of situations, people they're not going to come up to you. Or the fathers or mothers, they're not going to come up to you. Why? Because out of embarrassment. We know how our culture is. No one's going to say, my daughter is like this in front of someone else. Why? Because now if the word goes out, my daughter's never going to get married. We know how our culture is, right? But the daughter herself came up to me and told me. And they blamed the parents. My dear respected brothers, before it's too late, we really have to do something. We really have to fix our home environments. And I'm pleading, don't take this as a Jummah bayan or just a lecture. Take it home. Take it home. Fix your environment. Sit down, sit with your wife, sit with her, and of course the sisters are upstairs. Sit with each other and sit down. How can we make our environment not just good, but Islamic as well? Make our environment Islamic. We have to create an Islamic atmosphere at home. And I'll just give everyone some tips how to do it. Number 1 is, of course, the parents have to be role models. The parents have to be role models. That whole thing of arguing and cursing and using foul language in front of the kids, this is unacceptable. In front of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, this is unacceptable. We have to be role models. How we talk, how we deal with our kids, giving our kids time is very, very important. And inshallah, we'll speak about that as well, giving children time. So, number 1, parents have to be role models at home, outside, etc. Number 2, have a little Islamic library. One of the advertising strategy that these big company uses is the billboards. No matter how much social media we have, we still have billboards, right? We still have billboards. Why? Because they know on Belt Parkway, on BQE, There's a big, Apple billboard, and there's thousands, hundreds of thousands of people who are driving by that billboard every single day. They see that billboard and they get affected. Maybe they might not buy the product right away. After multiple time of seeing it, they're gonna get convinced and they'll buy it. If you have a little library at home, and your child sees that library, these are psychological tips. Your child sees that library, he or she may not pick it up right away. After some time, they might pick it up. You tell them, read something, they'll pick it up, they'll learn something. So have a little Islamic library at home, consisting of Hayat al-Sahaba, right? The lives of the Sahabas, the lives of the young Sahabas, the lives of the pious people of Islam, of Hadith, of history, etc. Another tip is develop your child's interest in Islamic knowledge. Sit down with them and let them know why Islamic education is important. You have to develop it. Yes, the teachers can do it, but if the teachers or whatever program your child go to, whether full-time Islamic school, part-time Islamic school, the teacher are definitely, that's their job, is to increase the interest of that child's Islamic education. So when they go home, again, if the focus or the push is regarding secular education and career and money, then the Islamic portion is going to go away. It's going to start to weaken. So number 2, develop your child's interest in Islamic education. Tip number 3, when you pray salah, pray with your son, pray with your daughter, pray with them. One family came to me and they were complaining about their daughter, 6th grade, and they were telling me that my daughter doesn't pray, she doesn't read Quran, or we don't see her, or we're gonna tell her so many times. So then I asked, the daughter wasn't there, so I asked the brother and the sister that, did you ever, I asked the sister, did you ever just, pray with your daughter together? She thought about it, she was like, no, I never did. I just keep telling her. I tell the father, that brother, did you ever sit, you're telling your daughter to sit down, have you ever tried sitting down with your daughter and reciting Quran? So the daughter sees that my mom and my dad, they're both, not only are they telling me, but they're also doing it. Action speaks louder than words. They're also, reciting Quran, praying Salah. Environment has to be there. If you're going to keep pushing your son to go to the masjid, or telling your daughter or son, read Quran, but the father and mother is just doing whatever, they're doing the total opposite, or they're not doing what they're telling the kids to do, then they're going to hold that against you. The kids are going to hold that, and they're not going to do it. Well, I mean, you don't do, you're telling, they may not say it to you, but in their mind, they're kids, and shaitan is always there. Shaitan is going to come and say that, look, your father's not doing, your mom is not doing it, it's not important. It's not important, you don't have to do it. Right? So, worship together. Have a daily Quran session, 5 minutes, it doesn't have to be half an hour. 5 minutes a day, sit down with your son, with your daughter, everyone sit down together. My dear respected brothers, I'm 32 years old, I have a brother who's 28 years old, I have another brother who's 25 years old. Whenever we're together at home, even till this day, whenever we're together at home, after Asr, the whole family sits down, we do ta'aleem. Till today, the whole family sits down and we do ta'aleem, we read a hadith. And if we're not there, and my father and my mother, they do ta'aleem. But ta'aleem is there every single day after Asr. Make a time after Isha, everyone sit down together, read one hadith, one life of the Sahaba, and you will see after some time the effect in your child's life, positive effect in your child's life. I mentioned this story before, and it happened in America. That there was one child was going to kindergarten, and when the child is in pre-K, kindergarten, first grade, the teacher asked now and then, what do you want to become? What do you want to become? So one teacher, she asked like the students, what do you want to become? Someone's a police officer, firefighter, astronaut, all those things when they're young, what they want to become. So when she came up to this Muslim boy, that Muslim boy said, I want to be a Sahaba. He said, I want to be a Sahaba. And the teacher was shocked. The teacher was like, what's a Sahaba? And the kid was in kindergarten, he couldn't explain it. But he said, I want to be a Sahaba. So when it was time for dismissal, the teacher, she asked the mother, and she told the mother that, today this happened and your son said he wants to be a Sahaba. What is a Sahaba? This mother, she explained what a Sahaba is, and then she explained why my son wants to be a Sahaba. She explained that we have ta'aleem every day, we read the stories of the Sahaba, and because of this he wants to be a Sahaba. Because of that incident, that teacher became a Muslim. Because of that incident, that teacher became a Muslim. Just think about this. Yes, That child will never be a Sahaba. But he has the love of Islam in his heart. The love of Islam is there. Why? Because from a very young age, every single child you see over here, as long as they're below their teens, before they start touching this, right, they're like a sponge. Teach them, implement the love of Allah and love of Islam in them as much as you can. If you can do that, then you will see, inshallah, you will have high hope. And inshallah, when my son, becomes 15, 16, 17, you still have to have that Islamic environment. It's not like, okay, up until 7, 8 years, I'm going to teach Islam. After that, Imam Burhan said, just the beginning. No, you have to keep working. That's why it's a challenge. Right? Raising kids is a challenge from the cradle to the grave, right? So, building the love of Islam in them, having daily Quran sessions, daily ta'lim at home, we mentioned it before. And, one thing very important, which is small, teach them the du'as before eating. Teach them the du'as and remind them. Don't just teach them, remind them. Hey, recite the du'a before eating. And then, or someone should recite before eating. Teach them the du'a before using the bathroom, after the bathroom. And then, when they come out the bathroom, you remind them, did you recite the du'a? You're keeping them in the loop. This is how you keep them. You can't tell them to recite Quran after every, 10 minutes or half an hour. But at least you tell them, again, because when you're telling them about the dua, you're reminding them about Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Indirectly, you're reminding them about Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And definitely, my dear respected brothers and sisters, giving them time. You have to give them time. There's one research done by one psychiatrist that every child needs a minimum of 8 touches a day. I'm not talking about, just random touches, but 8 meaningful touches a day. Like, for example, fixing their coat, giving them a hug, wiping something off their shoulder, fixing their hair, meaningful touches. And if that child is going through some, challenging days or challenging times, then a minimum of 12 meaningful touches. Sit down, communicate. Look into them eye to eye. Some of us have complaints. My child is far away from me, doesn't talk to me, doesn't communicate with me. We sit down, we eat, not a single word, right? Don't say anything, right? There's a reason for this. How much time are you giving your kids? And you'll see, those kids who are, or when they reach the age of, when they reach the teenagers, when they reach those age, and you see those kids talking to their parents, it's because when that child was an infant, or he was growing up, first grade, second grade, third grade, the parents were communicating. The parents were communicating, giving that child time. Beta, are you having any hard time? Is anyone bothering you? How can Baba help? Or the daughter, same thing. Communicate with them. We work long shift, we make that an excuse. We come home, we get tired, we make that an excuse. Every single child, they want to impress their parents. They want confirmation from their parents. They want some sort of, instant gratitude or instant, reward from their parents. Even if it's a word, it doesn't have to be, money or anything. Even if it's words. Oh yeah, that's really nice. But sometimes we feel too tired even to say that. Hey, go. And then what? A free babysitting service is what? This right here. Free babysitting service. You buy them an iPad. You high-speed internet, laptop, right? And this is babysitting. And this becomes your friend. My dear respected brothers, if we don't embrace our kids, and when I say embrace not, you can cry tears of blood, but nothing is going to change if you don't change your home environment. So all this was regarding under the topic of home environment. Make sure our home environment is Islamic, not just good. Do not only focus on secular, on career and on money. Also focus on your ta'alluq. Tell them, we have to build our ta'alluq with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Taqwa, building taqwa in them. Love of Allah, love of Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, love for the Sahaba, love for the Quran, love for the Sunnah of Nabi sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. Creating an Islamic atmosphere and communication with the kids. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala give all of us tawfiq. The topic of parenting is very vast. It's very vast. And parenting is such a skill that no one can say they mastered it. Sometimes you see that a person has multiple children and his method works with one child but it did not work with the other. But we have to keep making that effort. And alhamdulillah, we are here we have alhamdulillah a nice support system. The support system is out there. You have to look for it. No one is going to knock on your door and you're gonna tell brother, let me help your child. There are gonna be people who will knock on your door and then try to take you to other religion, right? But no one's gonna come and knock on your door and let me help you with your child. You have to look for that help. You have to look and search who are the right people to go to who can guide me and my family or my child onto Islam. And then of course the support system is there. And may Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala give all of us tawfiq to take maximum benefit from this support system that we have, alhamdulillah. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala give all of us tawfiq to understand the importance of an Islamic environment at home. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala protect all of our family members from the fitna of the Dajjal, from the fitna of this society. أقول قولي هذا وأستغفر الله لي ولكم ولسائر المسلمين واستغفروه إنه هو الغفور الرحيم. آمين.
कल मीटिंग होती है शाम 7 बजे और मैच अच्छा मस्जिद ने बोले ठीक क्या आप बंदे ने भी देखो क्या है तेरे से मौजूद सब नहीं चलेगा कॉम्प्लेक्ट कल जाना है
Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
Sure.
MashaAllah, Mu'abduhan, were many beneficial things. You mentioned many points. Inshallah, we can all benefit. Inshallah, take it home. The whole purpose is reminding is beneficial for the believer. So many of us probably heard this point before. But if we did not make any amal, then it was not beneficial to us. Instead, became a burden. So inshallah, whatever we hear tonight, inshallah, we understand it, we try to implement it, and we try to change our living our lives. So I was giving the topic of talking about the problems and challenges. And as we know, many of us are parents. And if I choose anyone here to name me all the problems, they probably can write a whole book. This is the book of Adam, my first, and he has this many problems. And this is my daughter Fatima, and she has this many problems. So everyone has problems and challenges. And the reality is, we will have problems. Many a times, we live in this ideology or understanding that everyone must be perfect. Everything is perfect. And because we believe that everything should be perfect, when there are problems, we deny them. We don't accept them. Because it is better for me to believe and think everything is okay. Because when I believe everything is okay, then I become a little bit stress-free. Then I don't have to make any type of actions. I don't have to do anything to prevent those problems or stop those problems. So we're living in a society today where we're in the denial stage. So we have so many problems, but we made ourselves believe that we have no problems. Because when we make ourselves believe we have no problems, then we become a little bit stress-free. But Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala tells us there are problems. You will face problems and challenges. You will face difficulties. And the way you maneuver through these problems, you'll be rewarded. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala tells us clearly in the Quran, إِنَّمَا أَمْوَالُكُمْ وَأَوْلَادُكُمْ فِتْنَةٌ. Verily your wealth, وَأَوْلَادُكُمْ, and your children, they are a fitna, they are a trial. And the word fitna comes from the word fatan, which means something which is cleansed through burning. A blacksmith, he takes rocks. He takes that rock and he heats it up and he burns it. After he burns it and heats it up, because of the heat, different rocks and different minerals, they separate from what he wants, like the gold and diamond and whatever precious metals he wants. The same way the children that we have, they are trial and tribulation to see how many of us are true fathers, as Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala wants us to be fathers. Through those trials and tribulations, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala checks who is a true believer, who is a true woman, true mother, like Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala wants. Because Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala knows how difficult these challenges are and how much we'll face them, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala tells us, وَاللَّهُ عِنْدَهُ أَجْرٌ عَظِيمٌ. That when you're able to maneuver through these challenges and tackle these challenges and face them Islamically, in a correct way, in the right way, you will have great reward. with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. One of the problems that we have today is we believe, number one, we have no problems. And number two, we believe that the success and the solutions to these problems lies with the kuffar. We believe that Western society has given us the solutions and how to tackle the issues that our children face. We believe that we face the ideologies that the secular system and the kuffar, they have placed in front of us. If we follow those standards and those ideologies, then our children will be successful. And the reality is, the solution they have provided for us, it all revolves around materialism. It all revolves around modernism. It all revolves around secularism. And what is materialism and modernism and secularism? It is the pleasuring of oneself. That your child should do everything he or she wants to make himself happy, make herself happy. You should do everything to make yourself happy. Everyone should do everything just to make themselves happy. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala tells us in the Quran, when He talks about Iman and those obstacles that challenges our Iman, number one is Shirk al-Akbar. In Surah Al-Kahf in the beginning, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala talks about the Shirk al-Akbar, the greatest shirk. وَقَالُوا اتَّخَذَ اللَّهُ وَلَدًا. That the Christians, they have made and they have associated a partner with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. That is the greatest enemy and obstacle against Iman, which is Shirk. They are associated with son with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And then He talks about Shirk al-Asghar. Shirk which is a little bit less, but it is still Shirk. That is, إِنَّا جَعَلْنَا مَا عَلَى الْأَرْضِ زِينَةً لَهَا. Verily I have created on the earth things زِينَةً لَهَا, as beauty. Why? لِنَبْلُوَهُمْ. So we can test them and see who does the best. Who maneuvers perfectly and properly. Who comes out of those challenges. So the world that we are living today is covered with Shirk al-Akbar. And mainly, us Muslims were facing Shirk al-Asghar. That today our children, we think that my money is my success. My career is my success. My grades are my success. My degree is my success. My house is my success. My car is my success. What country I am living in is my success. Whoever I have ties with is my success. My status is my success. My appearance is my success. All these things is materialistic. How many followers I have on Facebook is my success. How many likes I have on TikTok and Instagram is my success. All of these things are materialistic. So because our focus has been changed and the West and the Kuffar has told us that this is success, we have made these our priorities. And because of that, we have so many other problems, which is different discussion, which is depression. Depression is what? When you think you have no purpose in life. Because when your success, when your goal in life, and your purpose in life is attached to these materialistic things, and you strive and you work hard in this life for these materialistic things, when you lose those things, you become depressed. I worked my whole life for this business, now it's bankrupt, it's shut down. Now I am depressed because I worked my whole life for this business. My whole life, my whole goal of my life was to get this degree. But my final semester I failed. And I have no more money to go to college anymore. So I am depressed. My whole goal was to become famous on YouTube or Instagram or TikTok. Now I have so many bullies and so many commentators on these platforms, they're bullying me. Now I am depressed. But a Muslim, yes, a Muslim can be grieved and upset and sad, but he can never be depressed. A Muslim always has a purpose. Because his purpose in life is to please Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. His purpose in life is to worship Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. His purpose in life is to recognize Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So when he has no fame, no status, no house, no car, nothing, he still has a purpose. And when one studies psychology, that's what we see today. Celebrities, they have everything materialistic they have. Why are they depressed? Because they don't know what is the main goal. Why do you think the main reason these people take drugs? Why do they smoke? Why do they go from one girlfriend to another girlfriend? Because they want to hide reality. And that reality is what? One day they have to die. One day everything they have strived for, or everything they work will be done. And try to gather everyone to see how can we stop the aging process. Because we have attained all of these things, but I am 67 years old. I have so much fame and money and I could get anything I want. But if I'm 70, 80, I could die anytime. So they're literally working now with companies, with scientists. See, how can I stop the aging process? How can I make my cellular phase go downward? Instead of aging more, make me look young. But the reality is, how long can you live? 200 years? 300 years? You still have to go away one body. You still have to go. So the challenges that our children are facing today, they're surrounded by materialism. Everything they see is materialistic. Everything they listen to is materialistic. Every billboard they see is materialistic. It's about career. It's about degree. It's about becoming influential. It's about doing whatever you feel like. It's about being whatever you feel like. It's about making yourself and your nafs God. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala tells us in the Quran, أَرَأَيْتَ مَنِ اتَّخَذَ إِلَهَهُ هَوَاهُ. Do you not see the person who has taken his nafs and his desire as his God? The whole purpose of today is to make yourself God. And when you make yourself God and you remove Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala from the picture, then you do whatever you feel like, you believe whatever you feel like, and there is no boundaries, there is no limits. And as parents, this is why it's so important that we monitor and we supervise what our children watch. You know, one time, I have two children, I have two daughters. One is 2-year-old, one is 4-year-old. So one time, I told my daughter, okay, you know, everyone watches Disney World and all these Disney movies. Let me sit down with her, because we have a whole system how what my children watch. We never give them phones. Whatever they watch, we watch it first. And we read reviews and see what they teach. So I was like, let's see, let me sit down with her one day and let's watch one of these movies. And this is in the frog. So I sat down with her. It's cartoon, you know, it's not even human, it's cartoon. So I sat down with her, and right from the beginning, you see there's a prince. And this prince, he becomes into a frog. Now, how did the prince become into a frog? You see this magician. This magician takes the blood of this prince, and there's song playing too. There's a song playing, and he takes the blood of this prince. And also this magician has his figure following him, basically a jinn. And he's doing all these rituals, and all these blood rituals, and child is watching this. And then because of these rituals and all of these things, this prince becomes a frog. And we think this is innocent. The child is watching it, the child does not understand it, but subconsciously the child is registering all these things in their head. Subconsciously they're seeing that it is normal, it's normalized. Magic, black magic is being normalized in their head. And you think it is cartoon. In the first 5 minutes, this is what I saw, number one. Number two, I see this other man, he's going around and sleeping with different women. Very common. And this lady is flirting with this man, and he's going from this lady to another lady. Your child watches this. And then right after that, there's another song. And the song says, you live only once. And that's it. This is the end of life. The first 5 minutes your son and your child is being taught black magic. Your children is being taught atheism. There's nothing after this. That's the purpose. That's the whole goal of materialism. That your life is here, your goal is here, your mission is here, and you do everything for this life. إِنَّا جَعَلْنَا مَا عَلَى الْأَرْضِ زِينَةً لَهَا لِنَبْلُوَهُمْ أَيُّهُمْ أَحْسَنُ عَمَلًا. So number one, we have to understand the challenge that we are facing. That the kuffar and the West, they have made such standards that it is against Islam. And unfortunately, we have made those standards our standards of success. And we are chasing those standards. Number two, whatever our children are viewing is promoting materialism, is promoting shirk, is promoting only self, is promoting the nafs. This is why we know that every single person has two parts. Number one is the badan, is the body. Every single person has a body. This body is just a vessel. But the world wants you to believe that everything you should do is for the body. When you become sick, right away, we start taking medicine. We start calling our doctor. Because we know the value of our body. Anything happens, our parents run to us. They make sure you're okay. Any cut, get the bandage, put it on. Anything is broken, call the ambulance right away. But how many of us parents understand and realize the effects and the evils that the ruh, that the spirit and the soul of our children is facing? Many of us, our children, they look okay, innocent, ma'soom. But we have no idea what pipes are connected to their brains. What is stimulating their brains? What ideologies they have? We have no idea. And we see this happening. The past couple of years, how many Muslim kids, they committed suicide. Even Mohan and me, we know. A Hafiz. We thought everything was fine. I met him 2-3 weeks before, everything was fine. Salam. And then 1 week later, we find out he committed suicide. Why? Because he had a girlfriend and this and that. No one knows. No one knows. And even scientists, they did a research and they saw that whatever you watch constantly playing video games, which is, graphic and violent, then your cells in your brain become like that. You always want to fight. You're always shouting. You always feel frustrated. Because that's what you're listening to, that's what you're watching. We see the power of these movies. Huh? These movies, they make Iblis. You cry for Iblis in these movies. They tell you Iblis was a fallen angel. And na'udhu billah, Allah, God, he oppressed him. He fell down from heaven. And you see end of the movie, your wife is crying for shaitan. Huh? And you see these Marvel movies, huh? They tell you stories from different aspects. That's a whole different discussion, inshallah, we'll have. About Bollywood and Hollywood. What is their agenda? How are they subconsciously putting things in our children's head and brains which they watch and we have no idea what they're watching? Huh? Now we have a show called Miss Marvel, right? And she's supposed to be a Muslim. She's Muslim in Miss Marvel. And mashallah, we have parents sitting with their children watching it. So nice. And they're saying, mashallah, she's a role model for all the Muslim girls in America. Because she's a Muslim and she's a hero. But what they don't understand is what is happening in the background. By accepting a Miss Marvel in the Marvel universe, the whole Marvel universe is shirk. Mashallah, we buy our children book bags, Superman, huh? Who's Superman? We don't understand. Superman is a creature, he's an alien from a different planet, Kryptonite. And what is he supposed to be? He's supposed to be a savior. And these people call him God. They worship him. They ask for help from him. Our children watch it and I ask the children, who's your favorite superhero? Superman. Who's your favorite superhero? Thanos. All of these different characters, which have, what they do is they take realistic things, which has like jinns. We believe in jinns. We believe in angels. Right? So they take this concept and they express it in the wrong way. So they'll take the idea of jinns, but they'll put Superman, what they call Superman alien. And they'll tell you there's different superheroes. Huh? There's a new movie that came out. It's called Adam, something like Black Adam, right? Black Adam. And all these children are watching. This guy, Black Adam, this is a whole different, I don't want to go into it. That's a whole different discussion, inshallah, we'll talk about it later. But my point is that if we do not monitor, and if we are not educated in what our children watch, and many a time we think these are innocent cartoons, these things are subconsciously making their brain. You know, they had a study. They had a study of all the serial killers. What was common between them? Why were they going crazy and killing people? What motivated them? And they found out that, they interviewed all of these guys, and they found out that all of these serial killers, they're all addicted to pornography. You don't think that? You don't think maybe they all went to some country and they learned how to fight, and they became, sword masters and guns and now they want to kill people? The main thing that motivated them to kill, because they're addicted to pornography. Why? Because when you watch those things, you become animalistic. You become like an animal. You become overstimulated. Your brain cannot function. Whatever your children have watched in the past 5 years, you, your grandfather, your great-grandfather, your great-great-grandfather have not watched in their whole lifetime. Your great-grandfather probably stayed in one village. He only knows 10 miles or radius, couple of stores, couple of friends. That's his whole life. Your child has a whole world in front of him. The whole world is in front of your child. His brain is not made to adapt and collect all of that data information. Because he's so overstimulated, overloaded, he cannot function. He has ADHD, he cannot sit in one place. You need to constantly give him more and more and more and more. And when a person cannot satisfy himself with what he has, he will do more and more. So these people, the serial killers, they were not being satisfied by watching the pornography. They started watching a little bit normal, and then hardcore, and more and more and more and more. Now, this pornography does not satisfy them. Now they have to go kill people. They have to go kill people. Same thing with your children. They'll start up with small things, small cartoons here and there. Huh? First they're watching, Pokemon, huh? And then they're watching Dragon Ball Z. And then they go watch Superman. Then they go watch this and that and that and that. And mashallah, YouTube have a lot of YouTube recommendations, huh? I tell my kids all the time, YouTube recommends something you guys don't follow anyway. On YouTube, any YouTube recommendation? Oh, mashallah. You start with a boy reciting Quran, and then you find a woman reciting Quran, and then you see a woman doing belly dance, and then you go from there to a Shakira doing belly dance, and then, this is how it starts off. One by one. That's shaitan. That's how shaitan works. Shaitan said, I just put the honey on the wall. Huh? And the cat comes, and he spills the milk, whatever. And then the person blames it. That's what happens. Step by step, slowly by slowly. So my request to all the parents is, understand the reality of what your children are facing. And Allah put these challenges because Wallahu indahu ajrun azim. Because to test you, to see if you're a great father or not. To test your wife, to see if she's a great mother or not. To see how you tackle these issues. But how are you going to tackle these issues if number one, you think there is no issues? Number two, you think the solutions lies in other un-Islamic ways. And number three, you are uneducated and you have no idea what your children are being exposed to. So may Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala give us all of us tawfiq
Amen.
to realize the problems and the challenges, inshallah. In the near future series, inshallah, we'll tackle all of these things. We'll tackle the challenges our children are facing in terms of drugs and girlfriends and TV and movies and all of these different things. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala give all of us tawfiq.
Amen. Summa.
Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. So, yes, to conclude the conversation, and they have almost covered all the important aspects. There are a few points that I want to elaborate. Number one, we need to understand the loss, the risk we have, and we need to understand where are we living. The society we are in, this is a society that's considered as the imam in the world. This imam of materialism, capitalism. And if you look at the statistics, the numbers, the figures, America is considered the richest country in the world, in the sense that we are having more of millionaires in the world. I have gone through all the economic development, inequality in America. I'm not going to talk about it in detail. But we need to understand that we are in this country. And one of the kids, he was asked, who is your ideal? What do you want to be? He said, I want to be like Trump. Believe me, I'm not exaggerating, this is the reality. So we are in this society, we need to understand the risk. Where are we living? What kind of exposure our kids are going to face? And there are some important things that we need to realize, that we are not willing to leave our comfort zones. The father, the parents, that mashallah, all the three brothers before me, they spoke about it, and they have their built-in or their imported parenting skills and mentality, and they are not willing to leave their comfort zone. We have to step out of our comfort zone to get into the effort zone. Parenting is not to fix the kids, is not to train them, is to train myself. Parenting is to train myself, because if I say, beta, go and make salah, do this and that, they have discussed my stories, we have too many stories. They will learn whatever they see. Imagine that the kid learns a language without any grammar, without any punctuation, without anything. And people, they have raised like multilingual kids. Just they give them environment. One person should talk a different language. The other person is talking a different language. So whenever the child is going to communicate, they switch their language. And this is how the brain functions. I have seen kids, they were speaking like 4 or 5 languages at the same time. I have seen myself. Just because they were given the environment. So later on, when we put the effort on doing all these things, it becomes hard. We need to understand the importance of the time we have. Now, I ask a question. What is my input to the family institution other than the money? What is my input to the institution of my family other than the money? We don't have answer. I earn for them, alhamdulillah, I have these many buildings, this much, we have mashallah so long list. But how much quality time? The research says that abstract thinking starts like at 6, 7, 8. Means the kids start thinking about things they are not visible to them. So